My younger sister, who is 21 years old and 25 years old, is somewhat pregnant. She has been requesting for the past few weeks that my partner, a 27-year-old guy, and I watch her newborn every weekend from Friday morning until Sunday night so that she and her partner, a 21-year-old man, can have some time to decompress from being parents and avoid becoming overly stressed. Every time, I've laughed at her and quickly said, "Nope, I promise not to be," and she becomes upset that I'm not supporting her. She involved our mother yesterday. Mum called to ask why I was acting like such a selfish, self-censoring witch, as she didn't raise me like this. I informed her that I was a grown lady with a home of my own and a life of my own, and that I would absolutely have children to babysit as a second job. She hung up on me after stuttering something about how bad I was. My mum, dad, and the other 9,900 family members and friends that got involved are calling me out on Facebook and blowing up my phone, but my significant other and my aunts are 100% with me. Is that me, Reddit, the a-hole? Addition. It has come up on a few occasions now regarding my relationship with the family, so I would want to clarify that I don't usually interact with them. Maybe twice a month I talk to my mom, and maybe a bit more with my sister. I regularly communicate with my grandparents, one aunt, and my 16-year-old sister, but that's it. I didn't engage or contact with anyone outside of the 3 hours that we spend together on Christmas, even though I haven't cut anyone out. Here are the most popular comments. Not a big thing, but your sister and her spouse are crazy to leave a newborn alone for 60 hours a week. It's crazy that your family members accept this as normal. The only rational members of your family are you and your aunt. I would correct the sister. This isn't babysitting. This is called joint custody. Not in the daytime. This is not the amount of custody that divorced fathers receive. They would never have this much time with a newborn. Not in the morning. And, LOL, really? Let me get this straight. Even though your sister and her partner are expecting a child, they want to take every weekend off to go out and enjoy themselves while you look after their child? Indeed, it seems that they ought to have given it some more thought before conceiving her. That isn't how it operates. What did I do most weekends after giving birth to my kid at the age of 21? We refer to it as parenthood. I would characterize your sister's actions as ridiculous, entitled drivel, and I find it incomprehensible that your family supports her. Your parents can monitor the youngster if they believe she should take every weekend off. Yes, my cousin has 3 children, but during the past 12 years, guess what she hasn't had? A weekend off. Having grandparents watch the kids for an afternoon is a blessing for many. Signing up for the tiny ones means sacrificing some liberties for a bit. Not to be concerned. Who in their right mind thinks that someone else will look after their child every weekend? I'm going with someone who has probably gotten away with making a lot of different and outrageous demands in the past 21 years, especially because Mum quickly supported the notion. The following tale is now ready. After my sister threw out my son's pine cones, am I the bad guy for firing her? This was more than a week ago. I, a 30-year-old man, want to know if I was in a hall. My 7-year-old kid lost away due to a cardiac ailment. In July, it will be 2 years, and my world hasn't been the same without him. My son has a fixation with gathering pine cones since he was 5 years old. Whatever the reason, he loved them. He would always return from his hikes or trips to the park with a bag full of carefully chosen pine cones. In order to prolong their lifespan, I assisted him in preserving them. We started enjoying doing it at home. It was the greatest Christmas present ever, a painted pine cone that he gave me last year. Since his passing, I have kept all these pine cones stowed away. I like to get them out and look at them sometimes when I'm having a bad day. My sister lost her job a few months ago. My folks encouraged me to hire her to clean my house as she is a maid. For me, that was not a problem. My sister's issue is that she tosses away items that aren't worth keeping or insists on cleaning everything according to her standards. For example, the old sketchbooks that my late wife discovered in my garage, my old guitar that I still play occasionally but haven't played in a long time, my old wood carvings, etc. I've had to remind her not to toss anything out without first checking in with me, unless it's in the trash can. The other day, when I got home, my storage closet was almost completely empty. My son's pine cones were among the items that were absent. She intended to take me by surprise, but I was just too busy. I threatened to shout at her if she didn't go. Later, she texted me to inquire about her mistake. She simply realized that it needed to be cleaned up and assumed that I wouldn't be upset. Knowing how much my son loves gathering pine cones, I called to let her know she was fired for discarding them. Her defense was that since I had other items of my son, like his toys and drawings, they weren't really important to keep around, but this was one particular item that he loved dearly. I feel like he's taken something away from me now, and I don't want her back in my home. I gave my sister another chance because she was depending on this work, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. My sister wants to keep the job. I left her without a job, and everyone is upset with me for it. My sister's actions have angered my mum, who chastised her for her lack of tact. She does not believe that losing money should be a means of making up for injured sentiments, though. Not Thiel, am I the a-hole? She was not performing her job well. She would surely lose her job if she did this with other clients. She is unable to arbitrarily decide what should be thrown away. She also need to have apologized right away for what she tossed away rather than putting in more effort to defend her actions. It seems that she has disregarded many things that are significant to you. You allowed her to continue working as your housekeeper for this long surprises me. Oh, and the items I described, such as the belongings of my late wife, she suggested should be thrown out even though she didn't really want them gone because I don't need them. I gave her the instruction to not throw anything out without my consent since she persisted in pushing it. I think my response would have been the same if she had thrown them out, the way she threw out my son's pine cones. Yes, if there isn't a dire threat to public safety, such as a hoarding situation or a pile of human waste, she isn't even allowed to choose what to discard on her own. She disregarded Opie's requests because she could easily see how significant the pine cones were to him. Her actions caused her to lose her job, end of story. Well, I have no idea why she was fired from her first housekeeping position. You are not the jerk. Personal property is not something that a housekeeper should be deciding on. If she was aware that they were also sentimental, it would be much worse. Not the bastard. A housekeeper may not damage a homeowner's belongings unless the homeowner gives her permission to do so. She was most likely fired from previous positions for engaging in similar behavior, therefore her lack of money is her issue, not yours. Not the bastard. I'm shocked she ever had a housekeeping job to lose in the first place if this is how she behaves. It's not even as if she believed you might desire to get rid of them. She was aware of your sons and your feelings for them. She was not entitled. I never allowed her back into my home, much less into my danger. She also believes that damaged sentiments shouldn't be used as a punishment for losing money. The utter insolence. Feelings of hurt? What about losing money because she broke the law and destroyed property? The following narrative is captioned, "Am I the a-hole for letting my brother and his wife watch our 4-month-old daughter without asking my wife? My spouse and I are parents to a 4-month-old child. The wife's closest friend is the only person who has been permitted to watch the infant thus far. Her best friend is a fantastic carer and a mother as well, but she's simply an ordinary person, nothing like super nanny. My wife consistently refuses to let my brother and his spouse watch the baby for us, despite their persistent begs. The spouse of my brother holds certifications in both lactation consultation and baby care. It's safe to assume she'd be a fantastic babysitter. I'm not suggesting she's any better or worse than my wife's best friend. I had to take my car to the shop yesterday for an oil change and inspection while my wife was at work. My husband won't let me shop again until after the 4th. Thus my inspection would have expired by then. Therefore it had to be completed today. I left my child with my brother and his wife since I didn't think it would be enjoyable for her to spend a few hours in a gas station auto shop. I'm in the doghouse now, though. First, she wasn't asked, and second, someone else who wasn't the wife's best friend watched the infant. I didn't think it was necessary to inquire, so I didn't. I was certain that our child would receive excellent care. My brother and his wife both have cars with car seats, and I was just 10 minutes away by car. All the necessary materials were with them. Also, my wife's workplace is 10 minutes away from their home. It was simply my brother and his wife, which I see why my wife is worried that so many people are viewing our baby. I do not intend to send her to Edna the next weekend, Grandma the weekend after that, and Cousin Jimmy the week after that. She spent just 4 hours a day with her aunt and uncle. She believes that her greatest friend, someone who is reliable, is needed to watch her. The feedback is now available, not the a-hole. This must be your first child because your wife seems a little too excited about the new arrival, which is very normal. But that doesn't mean she's in the right since her feelings are normal. You will, regrettably, need to strike a balance as you both navigate motherhood. If you keep doing whatever she says, you'll probably come to dislike her, which can be detrimental to your marriage, your children, and your own parenting style. Baby steps. Tell her that it's not acceptable for her to make these decisions on her own, and apologize for not informing her beforehand. Fight it out, then come to an agreement. Hijacking the top comment to imply that his wife's decision might be influenced by postpartum worry is true and can have a severe impact on newlywed mothers. I was ready to say the same thing, thank you. My pre-existing mental health issues, including anxiety and depression, combined with my postpartum anxiety and despair, spiraled out of control, making the situation considerably worse than it needed to be. My child is 6.5 now, and I can hardly leave the house without being physically sick to my stomach from fear. Please, Opie, check on your wife. For many new mums, the hormonal decline that follows pregnancy and childbirth, combined with everything else, is unbearable. I'm not suggesting that your wife could experience what I did, but because it's so difficult, please make sure it's not PPA or PPD. Not the bastard. Your child is with a family you trust. Not 4 weeks, but 4 months. She was probably in her routine and enjoying her time with uncle and aunt, I think. The spouse of my brother holds certifications in both lactation consultation and baby care. That seems like a better candidate to watch the kid for a short while than your wife's buddy. You should have a conversation with your wife to find out why she feels this way about it. You only seem like a jerk to me since you did that knowing full well how your wife would feel about it. Here everybody is bad. It's bad that he went behind your wife's back, but she needs to know that you might need more people to watch the kids if needed. Can't be just her best friend. Since she was at work, I don't think he made the decision behind her back as much as he did behind her back. The final tale is this one. Is it wrong of me to have my ex's daughter in my life? Vacations, sleepovers, etc. I apologize if this seems unclear at all. With my ex, I have a 5-year-old daughter named Annie. Elsie, my former partner, is an 8-year-old daughter. When Annie was a little under 2 years old, my ex and I broke up. Since she had never spent an overnight away from her mother or home, getting her for overnights was extremely difficult. She began attending as well after we noticed that she performed far better with her older sister around. Annie doesn't mind spending the night alone anymore, but Elsie and I do have a link of sorts because I had to sort of continue being the stepdad after my ex and I broke up. Most of the time, unless she has other commitments or her mother asks her to stay at home for some reason, she will come spend the night. I'm attempting to organize a quick getaway with my girlfriend for August. I suggested that since we are heading somewhere really family-friendly, we should find out whether Elsie wants to go. Elsie has previously gone on holidays with merely Annie passing away. My girlfriend sighed heavily when I said this. She had never before voiced any concerns about Elsie's presence, so I was perplexed. After we started talking, she basically asked, "When will this end?" When Elsie is a teenager. When she graduates from high school. When she gets married. Never. I didn't know what to answer because, well, Elsie and Annie will always be sisters, so definitely never. Since Elsie is a sweet child and Annie adores her, I have never hesitated to ask her to hang out with us, and I really do feel sorry for Elsie. X is a wonderful mother figure, but she just has enough money for the bare needs and occasional educational pleasures. I feel as though I owe Elsie a little bit because there are a lot of things that Elsie gets to do with us that her mum could not afford. She came over just to console her sister, and she continues to be of great assistance to Annie. This circumstance does not set well with my girlfriend. She seemed to have been hoping that the epidemic was the reason for everything being this way all of a sudden. But it's extremely unsuitable and worrisome to learn that this is not the case. Even though Elsie is not my child and I am under no legal obligation to her, am I the bad guy for still asking her to hang out with us? Not the bastard. Although it's not required of you, including Elsie demonstrates your kindness of heart. If you decided to discontinue all communication with her because your new girlfriend is envious, it would be really terrible. Your girlfriend is demonstrating to you her lack of maturity in this matter. She will pursue your daughter as well if you give in to her on this one. She needs to be corrected. This is your daughter's and her half-sibling's reality. The girlfriend is free to leave if she doesn't like it. Indeed, it seems as though we are at the start of a steep slope. When Opie was with Elsie's mother, Elsie was also his stepdaughter. It's not as though Opie doesn't interact with her as a younger half-sibling. I have a feeling that the girlfriend is now second-guessing whether she signed up for all of that because she only recently found out how involved a dad Opie is. Yes, I could understand if she decides it's not for her and ends things, but you can't claim that dating someone with a past partner and child was an unforeseen development. Not the bastard. To start with, I think it's fantastic that you're treating both sisters like sisters and including them. Annie thinks you're a fantastic parent and a nice guy. This is the situation. Your girlfriend needs to realize you bring a child with you, and the child brings a sibling. They're both now members of your family. Who gets to be in your life is not something she decides. She has the option to move on or welcome Elsie as a member of your family. Don't turn Elsie down because of this, please. It's not the a-hole. But the one thing to consider is how long it will be until Annie's girlfriend starts making similar comments about her. The furthest I can envision her going is when she and him have their own child. That's right. It's going to be, can we ever just do anything with just our?